Hello, everybody. It is so good to see all of your digital non-existent faces in the chat. Welcome to Arc 4, Episode 1 of Transplanar RPG. I am your GM and executive producer, Connie. My pronouns are they, he, and she. You can find me on Twitter, Itch, Patreon, etc. at by Connie Chang, BY-CONNIECHANG. If you don't know what this is, thanks for tuning in. Transplanar RPG is an all-transgender, people of color-led, 100% homebrew, Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition live-streamed actual play campaign set in an original, non-colonial, anti-orientalist world. We stream Saturdays at 3 p.m. U.S. Central Time, which is happening right here, right now, and our podcast drops Tuesdays at 5 a.m. Central Time. Those are all of our past podcast episodes, but other folks will be talking about those projects more in depth. I'm going to pass along introductions to Lyra.
Hello, everyone. My name is Lyra. I use they, she pronouns. You can find me as the artistic director of Shout, Minnesota's trans and gender diverse voices in all trans me-led choir based in the Twin Cities. Check us out on Facebook and Instagram at Shout Minnesota. That's lowercase sh, uppercase O-U-T, capital M for Minnesota, which the two N's. I always mess that up. Without further ado, go ahead, Erica.
Hi, everybody. I'm Erica, she, her pronouns, and I play Vinox Scherzo, also she, her pronouns. And you can find me here on Twitch at Erica New Girl, where I've apparently developed a rapidly growing case of anti-dolphinitis. And on Monday, you can watch me play the sequel to the worst game in the freaking universe. I'm going to be playing Echo, Tides of Time, which I hear is...
Sequel?
Yes. Somehow,
Echo is a chronomancer.
Somewhere in the world, there sat someone, probably a cis white straight man, who said, "You know what the world needs? A sequel to the most broken game in the world. Make an Echo 2, and this time put some stank on it." So come check me out on Monday, 2:30 Central. It should be a good time. I'll probably have to use my bleep button a lot. With that, Max.
Erica. I mean
Yes.
this in the most loving way possible. You are entirely too white to use the word stank. I'm sorry.
Okay, fine.
I'm sorry.
Fine. Put some aggressively cishet culture into it this time.
There you go.
And with that, Max, you can introduce yourself, please.
Hi, I'm Max. I go by the pronouns. You can find me on Twitter, I guess, once in a while. Making jokes about TBT. That's the only thing I tweeted about in the past week. At Starchmonger. I will pass it to C.
Hi, y'all. My name is C. I'm a dancer, I'm a they-them dancer. Digital artist, tabletop streamer. You can find me drawing very trans, very gay art on my Twitter account, Tumblr account, Instagram account at PieSharpArt. You can also find me in October on Friends Who Roll Dice's channel on their very new Invisible Sun game. So that's going to be very, very exciting. So check that out if you haven't already. We love Friends Who Roll Dice. They're really great. And I play Okahe, your local god taxi, who's definitely not in trouble. Connie, please take it away from me, please.
You got it. As always, a huge shout out to our Patreon paragons. These are patrons pledged to our highest tier on Patreon. So a big thank you to Abigail Reitel, Ozra, Brooke Bright, Cassidy Barnes, Charles, Cora Eckert, Lex Slater, Moonflower Tea, Purple Mouse, and Risa. And as always, a very special thank you for you. Let's try this again. It's time for Oka's fun arc. Will the party win? If you didn't know, that was a haiku, and I believe it did follow the 575 format, but no one's gonna check me on that, because now I'm gonna pass things along to C.
All right, y'all. Arc 1 episodes 1 through 11 are now available wherever you get your podcasts. Don't forget that those polished podcast episodes release every Tuesday from Arc 1 onward. Even if you've listened to our stuff before, we would absolutely appreciate it if you gave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or Podchaser, wherever you get your podcasts. It really helps with us to reach new viewers. So please do that. Also, if you are a patron, you get early access to those podcast episodes, as well as exclusive character sheets and the chance to have your tabletop OC cameo in the live stream. So you can use !Patreon to pledge today and maybe get access to some brand new NPC playlists. Who knows? We'll see. And please get hype for Andake Anthologies, which is a multi-part mini-series that is going to run alongside our main campaign, featuring an entirely new cast and everyone's favorite GM, Connie. Volume 1 of Andake Anthologies is The Hounds of Mercy versus Mercy 7 Evil X's and all of Andake, which features the incredible players from Mercy, Mercy Me, and everyone's favorite reformed murder robot. And that is premiering this Tuesday, y'all. This Tuesday, September 14th at 7 p.m. U.S. Central Time. That is a Tuesday. It will air weekly for 8 Tuesdays, so keep your eye on our social media announcements. We've already been releasing art, so check that out on our Twitter if you haven't already, and join us on Tuesday because it's going to be, we're going to cry. I'm going to cry. Okay, Erica, you cry.
Fine, I'm gonna cry because of how freaking awesome the support is that we get from y'all. This is the section of the stream where I get to thank all of those who support the stream through donations, subbing, gift subbing, cheering, hosting, and rating. And these are the folks who did it during Arc 3 Interlude and last week's episode. Erica Newgirl, whoever that is, Risa Malimo, Rika Honda, Fazman91, The Mythic Bunny, That's Barnaby, Chill Acres, Crude Imposter Nightbright, Oravera, Pookie Piku, Murr, Connie, and totally not Risa. Bum, bum, bum. All right, so moving on to this episode, just like in our past 3 episodes, we are divesting from Twitch's subsystem until Twitch gets its shit together. So instead of a sub goal, we have a donation goal of $200. Also, just to let you know, when you go to our tip page, there's actually we've engaged the feature so you can actually do like a monthly donation if you so choose to support us in that way. Much like doing a sub monthly, you could do it there instead. But yes, so these are the incentives for that we're doing now. So instead of having up to 3 personal inspiration points, we're reducing the maximum amount of inspiration a player can earn in game to just 1. If you want to help us out, then check out these brand new incentives. At $25, $50, $75, and then $100, one random PC will get another point of inspiration. At $125, we unlock our new version of Collective Inspiration, which anyone at the table, including Connie, can use. And then once it's used, boom, gone. Dramatic noise. I don't know. That wasn't very dramatic. At $150, we unlock our famous auto crit, which, as you guessed it, anyone can use, including our GM Connie. And finally, at $200, we get a huge lore drop from GM Connie. You can use the command donate in chat at any time to pull up that donation link. And now, Max, please remind us what has happened in our lives so far.
I am going to do my best. It's been 2 weeks since our Arc 3 interlude. But as a reminder, you can always get to our newly revamped, beautiful recap document, courtesy of C and Connie, by using !recap in the chat or going to bit.ly/transrecap. The T and the R are capitalized. If you don't feel like reading, I will do my best to remind you. The party reaches the Dream Shield, the cataclysmic barrier at the border of Qiulong. One of V's criminal contacts, Wang Boqin, has agreed to guide them through the shield safely. The environment quickly begins playing tricks on their minds. They enter a dreamscape that starts by projecting Rev's Raven Queen-related inner workings to the outside world, then cycling through Dewey's at the URL, V's literal desire for her super hot girlfriend, Manaia is about being trapped in the hull of a floating ship, and then Oka's taking a nonsense Qiulong Imperial exam. They end up in the Silent Grove, where everyone realizes they look like the old paragons of the gods. The Dream Warden, revealed to be former Paragon Juan Ustoy, challenges the party to prove their worth as the successive Paragons through an epic battle. Now it's smooth sailing ahead, right? Huh? I will pass it to Lyra. Tell us about the title of today's episode.
Not gonna lie, I completely forgot that I do anything during this opening spiel. Moving on to the title of Arc 4, Episode 1. As always, the titles of our episodes are taken from poems or songs written by queer, trans, and/or people of color. The title of this episode, No Dreaming, No Blood, is from Social Fabric, an edited version of the world by Sophie Robinson. And the full verse reads as follows. No brother, no mother. Nothing on the television. Nobody picking up the phone. No tanning, no manicure. No waiting, no dreaming, no blood. No carpets, no rugs, no blankets of skin. No moon, no stars, no shine, shine.
Thank you, Lyra. Moving on to the session itself, I realized I forgot to thank a very special Patreon paragon, Chiakres. I don't know how that slipped the notes, so thank you, Chiakres. We will make sure to include you in our paragon shoutouts moving forward. We love you and we see you and we appreciate your presence in our community. So, now moving on to content warnings. As a reminder, Transplanar RPG is set in a grim, dark, gritty fantasy world that deals with difficult subjects that are potentially triggering to some viewers. So some content warnings for this campaign and for this episode may include death, fantasy violence, horror, gore, toxic and abusive relationships, guns, natural disasters, alcohol and substance use, addiction, memory loss, emotional trauma and baggage, self-destructive behavior, bloodletting, cult and cult-like behavior, and anxiety and panic attacks described in detail. Use !CW in chat at any point for a list of content warnings and !safety for a list of the cast's lines and veils so you know what content we definitely won't be exploring, no matter how dark the campaign gets. So, with that out of the way, let's begin Arc 4, Episode 1. The year is 406 AT. Tiger 11, the month of the chariot, and the last 5 weeks of autumn. We open on the silent grove, a lush, colorful painting of bamboo stalks, rolling mountains, and the silvery Biyan River spanning the entire width of the Kingdom of Qiulong. We soar across the spiny tops of trees, the winking rush of streams, and the hilly tracts of cultivated farmland that break up the wilderness. And now, pausing at the southern edge of the grove, we push in through bristling branches of maidenhair trees, whose broad, fan-shaped leaves have turned gold in the depths of autumn. The sweet, pungent smell of earth and leaves swirls through the air. The early morning breeze rustles through the ginkgo, the branches part, and we see a camp. A handful of patchwork tents squat low against the leaf-strewn ground, their canvas tarps littered with fallen fronds and spherical seeds. A blackened pit in the middle of camp smolders with the remainder of fire, encircled by a ring of heavy stones. And then a noise cuts through the peaceful, morning, slumbering camp. The low, insistent moo of 2 very hungry cows and 1 extremely ravenous elk. These 3 animals have been leashed to a nearby tree, and they are now starving for their morning feed. But their caretaker, and the last person to take up watch, is nowhere to be found. Manaia, Dewey, and V. It's not quite 8 o'clock in the morning, not yet, but you are pulled out of your shared dream of nightmarish prophecy early by the insistent braying of your animals. And as each of you gasp awake in your tents, why don't you tell me what you look like and what you do as we move into Arc 4? Let's start with V.
Oka! Take care of your animals! And there's V Scherzo very grumpily stirring from her sleep. She's wearing, her hair's a bit messy from sleep. It's this white mane of hair that's got streaks of purple and green in it. Her eyes, one purple and the other green, Kelly green, struggling to meet the light of the new morning. She's an elf. She's wearing a green it looks almost scaly shirt with a sort of a purple wrap around her waist and some wearing long pants, and she's taken off to sleep. She's not wearing it, but she's slowly, like, it's right next to her, some armor, which is some shoulder pads that have almost like little dragon teeth coming out of it. And at the centerpiece of the chest armor is a Kelly green diamond that is the source of all of her power. And yeah, she's slowly, really angrily, grumpily, just crawling back up and just being like, she doesn't understand why these animals are making sounds and where is the person who's supposed to take care of them.
The gray-skinned drow next to you also wakes up as Rev sort of disentangles herself from you. And as she like pushes herself up, like a single tricep push, right? Like to like get herself upright. Like she like brushes some like tangled like black and now streaked with white like long hair out of her face, pushing it back up, to reveal like a very like chiseled face with like one golden eye and one black eye that are sort of like blinking sleep and nightmare out of her gaze. She like scrubs at her eye, turns to you and says in sort of like a sleep hoarse voice, I'm gonna kill that little Osamar. Where are they? Oka, it's your job to feed the cows. You wanted them, you take care of them. Let's just go back to sleep. Rev is like trying to drag you back down. What do you do?
V does not resist too much to cuddling back in and being wrapped up and wrapping around Rev.
Lovely. As the two lovebirds sort of get pulled back into their tent, into the privacy of their tent, we're gonna pan over to a different tent, right, set across like the other side of this fire pit, where we push through the flaps and we see Manaia. So Manaia, why don't you describe to us what you look like and what you're doing as these animals wake you up?
I think Manaia jolts awake and she, being woken up from the dream early, she sits up really quickly, gets a little lightheaded, and after like 20 seconds, she pulls herself together and starts doing sort of her morning routine. She takes out a flask, which somehow never runs out of her I had the word, the hair product, basically. And she starts combing out and applying product to the puff at the back of her head and not making sure not to miss the cornrows that line the front of her head and working her way down to the four Fulani braids, which are reversed cornrows that come forward and down, two on either side, adorned with a couple of rings, mostly beads, as well as cowrie shells at the end. When that's done, she pats herself down her armor, which she's had for a while, black and gold, sort of molded to her figure, and pulls on her long brown pants and sort of modest black shoes, as opposed to her normal boots. She rummages through her pack and picks out a jade pendant and carefully affixes it to her ear as if she's done it every day for the past month or so, since they left Dr. Luso's homestead. It's a jade pendant in the shape of a Manaia, which is a part human, part bird, part fish creature that is said to be the messenger of the dead. And with all of that done, she rubs her eyes and starts getting up out of the tent, calling for Oka once or twice, but hearing no response, figures that they're probably still out on their morning watch, and makes her way over to the cows and elk, which is weird that they would leave without their elk, and starts tending to them.
Okay. Manaia, as you push your way out of the tent flaps and make your way over to where the very irate animals are lashed, we are going to travel to the final, second to last tent that there is in this circle, Dewey's. So Dewey's, as we push in through the flaps and we alight upon your feathered face, why don't you tell us what you look like and what you're doing?
Dewey is wearing a sort of like pajama romper, right? And his feathers are everywhere. He does not sleep pretty, but he like rolls out of bed. He sleepily pulls on like a very unassuming linen shirt, and he leaves behind his big bird torso shaped armor with all his tools and his overalls that are kind of thrown into a corner of the tent unceremoniously. He's like wiping off his glasses as he pushes out of the tent and kind of sleepily heads over to the tree where he last saw Oka. And then once he gets to the tree, he kind of like shakes it. And then noticing that only like a couple of leaves flutter down and there's no like annoyed Oka noises coming down from the tree, he looks up and he like puts his glasses on, looks back up, and Oka's not there.
Yeah, Dewey and Manaia, as the two of you approach that same tree, why don't the two of you roll me an investigation check?
Investigation. 20.
Okay, what did you get, Manaia?
I'm sorry? Each of us roll investigation?
Yes.
$15.
Okay, Manaia, you look around as well as you, Dewey, and both of you see unmistakable signs of a struggle. Sort of in the ground by the little stump where Oka had taken up watch. It's just sort of like next to their tent. Their tent is still here, but they're not in it. You see sort of like drag marks, like heels being dragged through the leaves. You don't see any blood, but you do see signs of like disturbed leaves. And you know, their elk is still here, so it wasn't like they took their elk and like left and ditched the party, right? It looks like they were taken. And the direction of the dragging sort of like is moving in the same direction that you're traveling in, sort of like farther south toward Dokao, the capital of Qiulong, which is where the 5 of you were headed until Tiger 11 this very day. What did the 2 of you do with this information?
Dewey immediately starts like going tent to tent, like pulling it open, closing it when Oka's not there, going to Manaia's tent, opening it up, not there, going to V and Rev's tent, opening it, closing it really quickly.
Whoa. Hey. Whoa.
It's called
Oka's not in here with you, right?
No.
Is Oka here?
That's
Closes
not. We're not. What are you? Sorry, V. And I think we're gonna like, as Dewey's like going from tent to tent, we're gonna like linger on V and Rev's tent as Rev sort of like scratches the back of her neck. She turns to you. What's this about? I guess we should wake up, huh?
Yes. And some bird doesn't know what privacy means. And V starts to like roll over and like she was starting to beforehand, grabbing her armor pieces and slowly working up, stretching out her body and cracking some joints.
Yeah, Rev also like pulls on like her like sleeveless leather armor that's got like the bird mail, right? The feather mail going like all like in like a cape going like down her back. And she like swipes her hand in front of her face and like just clears up all the gunk with some magic. Just sort of like freshens up. And she's also gonna poke her head out of the tent and like step out into the scene of like contained chaos, right? As Dewey's very anxious. Manaia, what are you doing as Dewey's looking from tent to tent?
Manaia glances at Dewey checking the tents and decides to look outside. She scans the perimeter and sort of keeps making circles going farther and farther, using her trained sailor eyes to look far.
Very eloquently put, Lyra. As Manaia uses her trained sailor eye to look far. She like scans the trunks, and you see like the track marks kind of end. Like it looked like there was one person dragging another person, and then the track marks just turned into like one set of feet. Right, so whoever took Oka probably knocked them out or incapacitated them somehow and like slung them onto their body or like put Oka in a bag of holding or something and like made off. But it looks like it was just one person. Like you don't see any hoof marks or anything like that. Go ahead, Manaia.
Is there blood at all?
No blood. Not a single drop. Which is both good and bad. Good because, great, Oka's probably not hurt. Bad because that means Oka wasn't able to use their blood magic to respond and fight back. Okay. At this point, V, you also come out into the camp. What are you doing? As I think you can like ascertain what's happening. Maybe like Dewey muttering and like Manaia like talking about it. What do you do?
Did our little blood warrior get Are they lost? Did they wander off, or what's happening here, friends? Did something bad happen? V's still a little wiping the sleepies out of her eyes. Tell your friend V what's going on here.
They're a blood hunter. They were taken. Signs of a struggle, no blood. Luckily going in the same direction we're going.
Well, I guess we should break this camp down quickly and go after them.
Agreed. This isn't good. I thought I cast alarm last night. I should have been woken up if any intruders came in. Whoever took them must know magic. They must be some sort of spellcaster.
Was your alarm dispelled?
No, it's still active. And Rev brings like a hand up and like makes a motion with it, and I think like a circle of like raven feathers that she'd laid like around the camp like float up, and then they turn gold and disappear, right? In like the early morning mist. Yes, agreed. We should pack up. We should follow that trail wherever it leads and get a move on before anything else finds us.
We'll have breakfast on the road. We have to move.
Okay, make a group survival check to see how fast you can pack up.
18.
Okay, 18 from Dewey.
I have
19.
inspiration, right? I'm going to use my inspiration.
Okay, you're going to use your personal inspiration. Sounds good. 19 from V.
9.
9 from Manaia. That is 1 failure and 2 successes. So that means you pack up pretty quickly, I think. And Rev is also going to help, and she gets a success as well. So all of you like scrambling around the camp, you're like tearing down the tent. Rev helps tear down Oka's tent because Oka isn't here to do it like themselves. I'm assuming you, Manaia, as like the second in command of the animals, are like taking care of the animals, giving them feed, like putting their tack on, etc.
Mm-hmm. I think her first thing is to go back to the tent, gesture with her hand, and bring her leaf cape just in one swift motion around her neck, and then tend to the animals.
Okay. Does the leaf cape like fly out like Doctor Strange's cape is like kind of sentient?
I would say so. No,
Okay,
it's not
that's
sentient.
cute.
It's not sentient, but Manaia like pulls it with a little bit of the weave.
Yeah, you summon your cape toward you. It flutters through the air, disguised among the other falling autumnal leaves all around you, and it swirls around your form, bringing with it like the smell of damp earth as well as just a touch of Nali scent as it swirls around your shoulders.
Yeah, and alongside that, I completely forgot the hairband of leaves that ties itself neatly around her bun.
Very nice. Yeah, that also, like with magic, secures itself around your hair. Dewey, how are you packing up in the midst of all of this?
I think that Dewey had Manaia like pull up all the stakes because he probably couldn't get them out of the ground himself. And he's just like rolling tents into bags, tossing him into the caravan wagon as keeper of the cargo. He's just loading everything up.
Okay, Mr. Cargo Keeper, you're like, hua, 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 and like maybe like your little like bird feathers are like running a little damp with sweat, and like your glasses are fogging up a little from the exertion, and like a little bit of like mild panic, I would assume, coming from Dewey as the cargo dad. And now we're gonna pan over to V. V, how are you packing up?
V is like, putting things into rolling them up and then using Mage Hand to bring like items, the tent and any type of other personal items over to the caravan.
Okay, sounds good. You're just using your magic and mage hand helping facilitate things. And it's good that it was so fast. Sorry, C, go ahead.
I was gonna say that Oka's tent is fucking disgusting, and I'm sorry about it. There's like vials of blood and like bones and like paper. It looks like they tore several books literally apart, and they just were like halfway sleeping on them, like they were reading and they fell. And it's just like, and there's also like Shuhai Miao's journal is in there, but there's just and like cigarette boxes and like a pile of ash, and it's disgusting. It's horrible in there.
Yeah, it's nasty. It smells like blood and cigarettes and bad decisions. And you roll up Oka's tent and you throw it into the back of the wagon where maybe like Dewey's there organizing things and Dewey just gets stunk up by Oka's tent just like in the back of this wagon. And it's good that y'all made more successes than failures in packing up, because you're just about putting like the final bow right on the present of wrapping up your camp when all four of you, including Rev, here, kind of muffled against the golden leaves of maidenhair trees and like the distance, but getting closer. There they are! And it's the voice of the captain of a group of Qiulongan guards that the five of you had shaken off your scent last night, but it appears they've picked it back up. And you can sort of hear getting closer and closer the pounding of hooves against the ground. No fewer than maybe 5 or 6 members of like the elite Qiulongan guard getting closer and closer to your campsite. What do the three of you do?
You're muted.
Sorry, I think Manaia hasn't quite hitched the elk to the caravan. And so she yells to Dewey, "Get me a rope by the elk. We need to go."
Dewey fucking yeets rope at Manaia as hard as he can.
Regular rope? I was hoping for a rope trick.
What are we trying to do with these animals?
The
rope trick-
hooves get closer. The hooves get closer.
Out of character, put the rope trick next to the elk so that I can grab it and hitch it while I'm driving.
Wait, you want to put the elk in an extra dimensional space?
No, use the rope from rope trick to tie the elk to the carriage, to the wagon, using lightning lure.
Okay, this seems a little complex, and I'm not sure what you're trying to accomplish here. That tying the elk to the wagon would not do. Is there a specific goal you're trying to accomplish here, Manaia?
Just to tie the elk to the wagon quickly, because walking to the elk and then to the wagon and then getting in the front seat to start driving would take too much time.
It wouldn't. You basically finished up with your survival checks. You finished packing up the camp like completely the way you wanted to. There's no drawback because you succeeded on that check. Yeah. So this is unnecessary.
Scratch that. Yeah. Rewind.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, you hitch the elk to the wagon. Manaia, are you driving the wagon? Or are you sitting at the front with the cows? Okay. Dewey?
Dewey heaves the last of the whatever our belongings are into the back and is like, we gotta go.
Okay. V?
V is going to panic and just throw a wall of fire between them and where the sound of hooves are coming from.
Okay. And Rev also lets out a, yeah, come on! And with that, like, the cows let out a, and they start, like, they're not built for speed, okay? These cows are pack mules, right? They're built for, like, slow and steady progress across any sort of terrain, and they're strong. They're, like, endurance animals. They are not, like, racehorses. So you're driving them, like, against their nature, and they're, like, trampling over the ashes of, like, the kicked-out campfire that you erected last night, and they begin, like, just booking it through these like copses of like maidenhair and ginkgo trees, right? And Rev, maybe V, you're like hanging out the back, you fling out your hand. Describe to me what wall of fire looks like.
Yeah, so V's gonna like there's gonna be like a little spark from her diamond. She's gonna like grab it and just fling it down at the ground a few feet and then just green flame in either direction, like 60 feet in either direction and 20 feet high, and just this bright green flames a burning.
Okay. This emerald fire like licks up into the air, and like several leaves nearby, I think, catch fire. Are you trying to contain this fire, or are you okay with potentially starting like a forest fire here?
You know what? If they didn't want a forest fire, they shouldn't have been chasing us.
Okay.
Caution to the wind.
Okay. I won't even make you roll an Arcana check to handle your magic then. You will cause a forest fire in this part of the forest, is what I've decided. Yeah. And like the flames immediately start licking, because it's autumn, it's dry now. So like it goes up like a chimney. And begins spreading in either direction, like the green flames just licking from north to south, from east to west. And you hear like the terrified whinny of horses of the royal guards like behind you as they encounter this wall of fire. But you're off clear. You've bought yourself a lot of time, especially by not controlling those flames. So what's the plan here? Are you trying to follow the tracks of where Oko was led, or are you just like booking it like in a straight line toward Dokao like you were planning to?
I'm going to try to discern the vague direction that they're going, and then just go in that direction.
Okay.
I don't want to like keep looking at the tracks, that would slow us down, but just like, okay, where are they vaguely going? That direction.
Okay, make a perception check.
Where's perception? Persuasion, performance.
Wisdom.
Okay. 8.
Okay, with an 8, you are unable to find like a good way to follow where Oko was taken, because just a couple of moments later, you see that the tracks sort of veer off toward the east in like a really like sudden way, and it just so happens that toward the east are like a series of like almost like cliff like drops that like feed downward. So it would be impossible to like bring the cows down there without like literally totaling your wagon and like really hurting the cows and the elk. Unless you like found like switchbacks to get down there, but there's no time. There's no time. The forest is on fire.
Right.
And you know the fuzz is on you. So what do you do with this information, Manaia?
In that case, Manaia's going to make a quick mental note that that's kind of the direction they were taken in, and just keep barreling forward.
Sounds good. And with that, I think like with the cows charging forward, like with Manaia driving, like driving the mounts to the front, like Rev also leaning out front and helping to like speed the mounts along, with Dewey in the back getting like thrown ping-ponged like all over in the back of the wagon, like like maybe trying to like keep the suitcases locked down, and with V like leading out the back of the wagon, like your eyes alight with like the fire that is like reflected with the fire that's burning maybe like 50 feet away from you. We're gonna do a hard cut to Oka. Oka, you are awoken, not by light, not by smell or sound, but by movement. A pitching, rolling, rhythmic movement, almost like a ship on waves. Your neck, the first thing you notice, your neck aches. Your rib cage feels tight, constrained, almost like your lungs are being pushed up against the bottom of your throat or something. Your shoulders are also, they're so stiff, especially around the joints. And there's something really taut and prickly around your wrists, which are behind your back. Your jaw also feels stiff. And your mouth, as you're coming to awareness of your lips and your tongue, your mouth is really dry and it's chapped. As you're coming into this fuller awareness of your body, this undulating, pitching, rolling movement persists. Honestly, it's almost kind of calming. Right? Like being rocked to sleep on a hammock, but instead of lying down or being prone, you're sitting upright. Your back is pressed against some sort of hard surface, and light is filtering in from somewhere. And as your eyes sort of woozily blink and flutter open, you see that you are on the inside of a palanquin. A palanquin, if you don't know, is a covered litter for a single passenger, usually consisting of like a large box with 2 horizontal poles sticking out from it in either direction. And typically a palanquin is carried by 4 to 8 workers on foot. It's a form of like non-wheeled transport that's very ubiquitous throughout Qiulong. You'd be very familiar with it. Though palanquins are usually reserved for the upper class, nobility, royalty, while like regular folk are more commonly borne along rickshaws and pedicabs. Okay, as you come to, what do you do?
I think at first, like when you're waking up and you can almost like distend yourself in this moment of forgetting where you are. I think Oka is there, and this like almost familiar rocking of the palimpsest where like palanquin, excuse me, right, not a palimpsest, a palanquin, excuse me, is so familiar that they're like are almost like they've fallen asleep on a journey with their mother, and then it's like 7.5 years of shit just like kind of crashes down, and then they blink and they're like, hold on, where are the cows? And they go blah, 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 blah.
Yep, because your mouth is gagged. You can't talk out loud. There's some sort of thing stuffed against your teeth. And I think the dream that you're sort of like woozily, almost painfully waking up from is of your mother. The last thing you remember before the dream starts to slip away from you is your mother saying, oh, my sweet Oka, it's time for you to wake up. But I'll see you soon, won't I?
Mom, va, va, va. And they just start, eyes a lot more wide, like the double pupils now, like, and I guess I'll describe them too in this fucked up situation, start like flicking like back and forth, like around, looking these 2 pupils in these like double blued eyes. Their hair is cut short again. It seems like it's like ragged and chopped. Like they literally just took the edge of their blade and just did that with it. And they're wearing pretty much the same armor as they have for their journey here. This like high-necked, Max is doing a pretty good Cossack cosplay right now. High-necked black sleeveless shirt. But the orange sash that they normally wear around their waist seems to have been dyed or turned blue, and was at least slung over their shoulder and attached with some bits of chain. Yes, exactly, Max, correct. And again, these like twin scars like bisecting their mouth and just littered with scars, huge inky black tattoo. That it will begin to glow, I think, with fire. Like it's like heating up against their skin, as I'm going to try to burn some of these ropes off pretty immediately.
Yeah, your wrists and your ankles are bound. Your wrists are bound behind your back, and your ankles are sort of bound just in front of you, so you're in like a sitting position. What kind of magic are you using?
I am using my culling edge and enacting my rite of flame on it, so I will take some damage from this. But technically that does light my weapon, which is my arm, on fire, or at least the tattoo on my arm, which I think is bound behind me. So it'll ideally just burn right through.
Okay, so roll to take damage first.
Well, it's not bad, those 3.
Okay, so describe to me what it looks like.
Oka like thrashes around kind of loudly. Is there anything else about this thing that I see?
Yes, the palanquin you're sitting in has wooden walls of painted blue around you, shot through with various silvered ornamentations. And you notice that wood lattice windows perforate either side, with an errant breeze even blowing in through the gaps, ruffling through your shortly shorn black hair. Light is also filtering in through these thin, sheer, very flammable curtains made of ruffled chiffon. And you can sort of peer through like the gaps in the lattice work to make out a forest, dappled with golden leaves. The silent grove, where you were taken where you last remember being. And in the near distance, you can hear birds, crickets, rustling branches, but much, much closer to you, you hear footsteps. Crunching over fallen leaves to the bobbing rhythm of the palanquin. You're being carried through the silent grove by someone. You don't see them because they're directly in front of you and behind you, and there are no windows in front of you or behind you. It's at least several people, at least 4, maybe up to 8, right? You also hear one set of hooves and the nickering of a single horse coming from somewhere directly in front of the palanquin, so you can't see whoever's riding a different animal in front of you either. So with that information, what does it look like as you activate Culling Edge?
Okay, Oka, I think like they just like tip themselves in their semi-panic, and they just thud over onto the ground for a second, and they wiggle there like a trapped animal, and their eyes are kind of going wild. And they're like, okay, what's the last thing I remember? You know.
The palanquin is really small. There's no room for you to fall onto the ground. So as you tip forward, your head hits the front of the palanquin, and you feel like a rocking motion, and but no noise from any of the people carrying you. As like whoever's carrying the palanquin like readjusts like their weight to sort of like accommodate you starting to thrash around inside your box. And to remember stuff, your memory is a foggy haze, and the back of your head is throbbing. So I need you to roll just a straight intelligence history check.
Well, it was a 2, but let's add my modifiers here. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. A 9, but I feel like that's actually par for the course. A 9.
You remember looking into the campfire, right? As like for the final watch, just like watching the flames dance, and then the smell of hawthorn, and then nothing at all. Like literally nothing.
Okay. I got this. We got this. Oka's head smacks the wall. They feel that adjustment, and then their heartbeat starts to slow down a little bit as they just a tiny little nosebleed starts to trickle, and their arm heats up, and ideally like burns away the ropes that are keeping them tied. And very quickly after that, they'll untie their legs and ungag themselves, and they like spit kind of loudly. Yeah, okay, that works. Okay, great. And there's a moment where they pause and are like centering themselves for some bullshit. I would like to use my one of my newest blood curses, which is Blood Curse of the Ink. Just technically, I want to flavor it a little bit funny. I want to see how many heartbeats are out there. I want exact numbers. I want to find extend my senses and track how many heartbeats are around me.
What does this look like?
The blood, I think, that had been coming from their nose, like just kind of drips all the way down, and Oka feels their own heart beating like a jackrabbit, like, and they focus on that. And then I think it's almost like everything else tunes out, and then heartbeats start tuning in. Once they can focus on just theirs, then it starts to like populate where they can like hear like birds trilling in the trees, and like as they go past like the heartbeat of this like animal, you know, et cetera, and however many other people are out there, and they focus on that.
You sense 2 heartbeats. The heartbeat of a horse, maybe 30 feet in front, and the heartbeat of its rider. You do not sense any heartbeats from the people carrying the palanquin.
That's distressing. Is there a clear way out of the palanquin, a door?
Yes, there's a door to your left.
Tuck and roll, baby! Oka they tuck and roll. They kick it open, or they try to kick it open at least, and they just barrel out head first.
Okay, make a strength check.
Oh my god, I'm rolling for shit. I have an inspiration, though. All right, I'll use it. Wow, okay. 8, 9, 10, 11. 11.
Okay, I'll give you a hard choice. It's either going to take you a really long time or you're going to take some damage on your way out.
I'm gonna take some damage on my way out.
Okay, you smash open that motherfucker. You kick open that door. You smash it to splinters. But you hurt your leg a little bit on your way out, and I think like some of the wood exploding like digs into your leg. So you're just gonna take not too bad. What? Oh god.
I also had to roll for my blood curse, so I've taken 9 damage so far.
Okay, you're gonna take another 4 points of piercing damage from like the wood just like digging into you. You roll out. What do you do as you fly out of the side of this palanquin, and you see like the ground maybe 8 feet off the ground because the palanquin is hoisted up pretty dang high. So I think you're falling through the air at this point. What do you do?
Ooh, this is the opportunity where I get to use my Radiant Soul, eh? Yeah, Oka flies out. They're like bleeding, obviously, because they're a little shit. They burst out and these huge wings just come tearing out of their back. They were once magically see-through and made completely of magic, but now they're made of grizzle and bone and feather, as they just are so tangible and just rip out of their back, and they take like 3. Why are you taking out your dice?
No, keep describing.
What's going on? I'm afraid. Yeah, they use their Radiant Soul, I hope.
They try to fly away?
Just take 3 big beats away from the cart.
Okay, as you do, you notice several things. I'm assuming you're turning around to look at the procession, or do you not care?
Yes, and...
Okay, so as you beat your wings, you sort of twist in midair to turn around, and you see like a beautiful palanquin. Right? Like a royal palanquin. It's the colors of Qiulong, blue and silver, and it's decorated with like flying cranes, like on the side, and like these like gold ornamentations. Like it almost looks like a bridal carriage. But it's specifically not like a marriage or wedding one. It's just like something that like fancy ladies would like travel in. Like your mom would ride around in a palanquin, like the queen, the first wife would, you know what I mean? So that's the first thing you notice. It's odd that it's sort of in the middle of the woods away from Dokao, presumably. The second thing you notice are the 4 people carrying it. They look like people. They're of varying heights and widths and girths, and they're all wearing the same uniform. Which is the official uniform of like royal servants of the slumbering palace. And they all have these like broad straw-rimmed hats sort of pulled low over their faces. And as soon as you burst out of the door, they stop moving as a single unit. Like they're like completely like in sync with each other, and they stop, right? And they don't have a lot of exposed skin because like the robes like go all the way down to their wrists, and they're wearing gloves and these like covered toe shoes. But of what you can see of their neck and their skin, all of their skin looks a little pallid, a little pallor, a little pasty, based on what you can see. Even the ones that are dark skinned. The last thing you notice is the horse. There's a black horse, maybe 30 feet away in the front, that's sort of leading the procession, like a pure obsidian stallion. And riding this horse bareback is a person wearing this hooded leather cloak with these studded vambraces whose face is not visible because their back is to you because you just bursted out of this palanquin. But as you like fly into the air, this person like turns very quickly, like reacting like that, like twists their torso, and you see a mask. They are wearing a fierce golden mask with black and red accents around the eyes and a painted mouth. Very similar to like a Chinese opera mask, like Beijing opera mask. And like sort of you can see like a few strands peeking out from under the hood and above the mask of like short white hair. And their build, you're noticing, is like kind of angular and almost slender, right? And as they turn to look at you, they do something like simultaneously as you're flying through the air. And I rolled for it and they hit. So you didn't see them draw, but as they fling their hand in your direction, a dagger with like a black blade like flies through the air and hits you square between the shoulders. And it doesn't hurt as the dagger sinks between your shoulder blades, but then you see like a bead of like black light, a string of black light from the hilt of the dagger and connects to their hand, and they pull you down. So I need you to make a strength contest.
$18.
Okay, that is not sufficient. So they are gonna just like reel you in like you're a kite, kind of, as you're like
I'm
a
the
bird.
bitchiest fucking kite in the whole world. I'm shrieking like a banshee. I'm like, Manaia! V! Dewey! Yelling as loud as I can and like flap, 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 flap. But I think as Oka realizes they are not going to get away from whatever this horrible little rope trick is, they swivel in air and they are going to go at the person instead.
Okay, we're gonna roll initiative into our second half for this session. We will be back in 10 minutes. So thank you everyone for tuning in to our Arc 4 Episode 1 reboot. Thank you so much for tuning in and saying hello. We have been reading your commentary. We've been loving every little joke that y'all been throwing into the chat. So enjoy the fan art reel, enjoy croon. Some croon music, and we'll be back in 10. It is currently 3:58, so we'll be back around 10 after, 8 after, or so. We love you all so much. Thanks for tuning in, and see you in 10. Speesh. Hello, everybody. It is so good to see all your digital non-existent faces in the chat. Welcome back to Arc 4, Episode 1 of Transplanar RPG, which is our transgender people color-led, 100% homebrew, Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition live-streamed actual play campaign. Before we hop back into this part of the whoa, we just got a $75 dono from Chiakres. And since we just like changed how donations work, I just have to, and we got a 15 monthly donation from Risa. It says, love you all. Thank you, Risa. Wow, right as we're back from break. So that means every PC gets another point of inspiration except for Oka, because Oka already used yours from the 25 from last week. So Manaia and Dewey and V all have an extra point of inspiration. To Manaia, that's just one for you. In total. That's wonderful. Thank you all so much for those donos. We're now at 115 donations out of $200. We're not trying to like hit 200 by the end of this session necessarily, but whenever we hit it would be great. And just as a reminder, our grand prize for $200 in terms of donos is a huge, like a truly massive lore drop from yours truly. So if we do hit it this session, I wonder what the fuck that means. I'm gonna have to pull some stuff out of my butt, but it will be massive, I promise.
Connie, we really don't want to hear about what massive... Anyway.
I can pull out a lot of massive things from my butt. So a reminder of content warnings for our grim, dark, gritty fantasy campaign. Content warnings include death, but fantasy violence, horror, gore, toxic and abusive relationships, guns, natural disasters, alcohol and substance use, addiction, memory loss, emotional trauma and baggage, self-destructive behavior, bloodletting, cults and cult-like behavior, and anxiety and panic attacks described in detail. So with that out of the way, you can use !CW at any time in chat for a list of those warnings to take care of yourself, and !safety for a list of our lines and veils. Let's hop right back into Arc 4, Episode 1. Manaia, Dewey, and V. The three of you ride haphazardly on this wagon being drawn by two extremely panicked but beautiful desert cows, as their hooves tromp over the fallen golden leaves of the southwestern portion of the Silent Grove, tossing their huge, massively horned heads from side to side, their nostrils flaring with exertion, their beautiful pearly white hides glistening with foam and sweat as they mush their way through this autumnal Silent Grove. Rev is sort of like leaned out front, helping Manaia steer the cows and keeping an eye on the elk that's leashed to the side of this wagon, and also like galloping along, tossing its massive antlers side to side as leaves filter down from the canopy above and light streams past you. The sunless sky getting brighter and brighter as we move from early morning into noon proper. You can still smell the scent of V's decision trailing on the breeze because there's sort of like an updraft right behind you. Burning leaves, emerald fire, sparks of magic, simmering on the threads of the weave that like encircle this wagon as you push along it, like a salmon caught in a net, like pulling the net along. So as all of you rush through this grove, I think it's Rev, whose like hair sort of like rippling in the wind like a black flag, turns to you, Manaia, and Dewey and V, and just says, "This doesn't make any sense. First, I hope Oka's okay, but why would the guard be on our tail if they have Oka? I'm assuming it's the guard that took them, right, for the bounty?"
Was there any kind of evidence? I mean, who knows what could have happened? There's so much we don't know, and we had to leave so fast that all we know is it still seems like they headed in this direction. Is that what we know, can discern?
I don't know. I was so busy leashing the cows and the elk. Manaia, what did you see?
The path turned a while back, but it led to some cliffs. We couldn't.
What? We have to go back. We can't just leave Oka. What if they're getting killed or hurt?
We'll go back for them. For now, we need to get away from these guards. V, do you have another firewall?
V, I don't know if that's a good idea. I don't want to burn the Silent Grove down and cause even more of a ruckus. Then they won't just be after Oka. Whoever took them might be after us too.
Our faces are already well known. They're going to be after us anyway.
What
I mean,
makes
I
you
could
say
give
that?
us a disguise. We could disguise ourselves.
That's not a bad idea, V, but I don't feel good just leaving Oka back there. They're one of us. They're a paragon. We can't lose them.
I know, but if we lead these guards to them, they'll be in even more trouble.
Well, can we cause a diversion? That I don't hear them or see them. There's too much smoke. The fire must have left them in our dust.
That's
V's-
that's
V
our chance
looks-
to hide.
Yeah,
Go
He
ahead.
looks back towards the forest, and there's still quite a bit of green fire coming up from the tree line. So, friends, if we're going to do something, I think we need to come up with a plan of like, do we disguise ourselves? They've probably seen what we're traveling in, so do we ditch the caravan? What do you think we should do?
No, this has all of our supplies in it. It has everything. We can't just leave the cows or the elk. What if we laid low for a minute, found somewhere safe, and then went back into the woods and tried to track Oka?
Where would we find that's big enough to hide the whole carriage?
At this, the wagon breaks out of the tree line. And starts running across, like, the trees get, like, thinner and thinner, I think, at this point, like, no longer so dense and, like, cobbled together, two seedy people in a bar conspiring over a pint of beer, like, heads knocking together like these trees sort of thin out, become more widespread. And you sort of see that you're at the top of like this hilly ridge that like sort of dips down into almost like a gentle valley of sorts. But this valley is dotted by other hills, just sort of like with these massive, almost like parabolas is what they look like. They like go up like really steeply and then down, and you sort of see like the edges of these hills, the sides of them are cultivated. These are tea hills, as well as like rice gardens, right? And you can sort of see like little tiny little specks of like Lego size, right, from this distance. Homes like built on the sides of these cliffs, and also at the base of like various hills, with like rivers and streams cutting through like the bottom. You see other little clusters of villages, and there's one that's like pretty close by. That's maybe only like a 500 feet away from you. And this, the end of the Silent Grove also opens into like a series of switchbacks that leads to the bottom of this hill, right? So now a path has formed. You're no longer in like the wilderness of the Silent Grove. Maybe somewhere down there. We can drive the mounts. We can take our cart down these switchbacks. We've probably lost the royal guards for at least a little bit. V has bought us a lot of time.
Take the reins. I'll make another diversion, just in case. We can never be too careful.
Okay. And Rev seizes the other set of reins from you.
Manaia takes her axe, hooks it to the top of the carriage, swings all the way to the back, and then stands there. And I'm going to try to cast Thunderwave, but like centered in front of me to like into the ground to make a cloud of dust.
Oh, cool. Oh, nice. Nice. Why don't you roll sleight of hand with it, just to see like how much dust you can create with this diversion? Nice. I'll give you a point of inspiration for that, so you're all full up.
I will use a point of inspiration. That was a 2. That's better at a 12.
Okay, a 12. I think this has bought you like 12 more minutes. As you tell me what it looks like.
Manaia puts her axe down and bends down to the very edge of the cart and sort of lets her hand glide along the ground. And all at once, there's glowing green and orange at her from her eyes and down her arm. And there's a sort of as the spell starts, but the spell actually goes off once we've gotten a few feet away, and it goes into a big cloud of smoke or a big cloud of dust.
Nice. You kick up like a dust wall, right? Like just to obscure your tracks, and it sort of like hangs there magically, right? Like thickening like around the bases of trees that you're like blazing past, like an unusual, unnatural fog rising up, and the force of your magic sweeping through the woods causes like a flock of birds to like alight from like the upper branches of a canopy and like take off into the air. And several of these birds are ravens actually. And as the birds like fly off into the air and like toward like this series of homesteads and villages, Rev pauses while like driving. I think she's like driving the cart toward the switchbacks, like she said she would. She says, 8 ravens. It's an omen. We should follow it.
Right. Manaia takes her axe, flips herself back over the carriage to the front, and says, "You keep an eye on them. I'll take the reins."
Okay. There. Keep going down the switchbacks toward that house over there in the south. And she's like giving you directions as you're like taking control of the mounts. While this has been happening, Dewey and V, what are the two of you doing?
I think while Manaia was doing her thing, V is still kind of like there near the back of the caravan watching and enjoying watching some good old-fashioned magical stuff happen. But then I think when Rev says the thing about that there's an omen, I think V will make her way near to the front, and I think just be in agreement that if Rev thinks this is the way we go, should be the way we go.
Okay, you sidle up behind your girlfriend and like sort of peek your elven face like next to hers. You see like her brow, her like dark brow is like furrowed in concentration as she's like following like these like ravens like flying down toward these like oscillating peaks in the distance. Dewey, what are you doing?
Dewey sort of hanging his head out the side, kind of looking around the side of the caravan to the front. It's like, so we're just gonna follow a bunch of birds that flew up because Manaia made some. Whose bird? We don't know whose birds those are.
They're not birds, they're ravens, and we have the Raven Queen. I think we can trust her.
It's a sign from the Raven Queen. When I trained as a priestess back in the court before that was my old life, a part of my training included reading signs from the natural world, the way blood is spilt on the ground, entrails, knuckle bones, birds, the weather. 8 ravens, safe haven.
All right, but if we're getting involved with some random civilian, this is on you.
No, Dewey. This will be on us. We're paragons now. There's no I in this.
And hey, Dewey, if you want to go talk to him, I'm sure you'd be the best one out of us to communicate.
The birds?
Oh, well,
I don't speak Raven speech. I don't speak Raven speech.
Rev says something in Raven's speech, but you're pretty sure it's an insult as she like sort of clucks it out. And then like leads like I think like the breeze is like hitting all of you as like Rev is driving these horses and this poor elk like running behind because the path of the switchbacks is not that wide. Like carefully guides like the oxen and the elk like around like these like really like sharp like what's it called, like pinwheel turns, safety pin turns. What was that?
Hairpin turns.
Hairpin. Thank you. Pippin. Hairpin turns.
I would not like to hear. I would not like to see a pinwheel turn personally.
Yeah, you
I
just
like
you
seeing
cartwheel
pinwheels.
cartwheel down the cliffside. That's how I get my TPK. Rev like pulls like the two oxen and the elk like around these hairpin turns, and like eventually with like the dust and the breeze and like the fresh open air like blowing against your faces with such like speed that it's making all of your eyes water just a little bit. You finally reach like the base of this like cliff that you came down from, with like the edge of the silent grove sort of bristling on that ridge. You can sort of see the tops of these maidenhair trees like glowing with a slight golden glow from all the autumnal leaves still fluttering down past you. And now Rev nods and jerks her chin toward the direction of a particular hamlet. That's where I saw the ravens. Alas, they're gone now. I lost track of them. I think it's over there. What did the three of you do?
Let's hope whoever lives there is friendly.
Okay. Rev leads the cows and the elk down like a more gentle slope that has like this like path etched out along the grass through just like decades and decades of like carts traveling over it, as opposed to like any particular like paved measurement from Dokao, right? It's just like this is a path that a lot of farmers, it appears, travels. Takes this like cart down this path, like pulls on the reins and like slows down the cows a little bit so they can catch a freaking break. And the cows are like panting really hard and like throwing their horns from side to side, like their tongues are lolling out a little bit and they're just like panting and gasping really hard. And the elk like slows down to like a canter next to you as well and is sort of looking around nervously. It's like big ears like swiveling in either direction. As you begin to encounter people, other people walking along this path, you sort of see them at first in the distance, right? Other paths converging upon this hamlet built at the base of like one of these massive, like mountains, basically massive hills with like those like huge peaks. You see like various homesteads, like tracts of farmland, right? Like people like working the land, people harvesting. A lot of these seem to be rice paddy fields, as well as like just like regular vegetable gardens, which makes me think of the last time you were at a vegetable garden, which was Delapati Saeed's homestead, right, in northern Talmud. But the earth here, the soil is a lot more fertile, right? Like it's not like at Fireroot Farm where Kothor presumably had to use magic to make things grow. Like here, it's just, there's like rivers everywhere, right? And the air smells moist with fertile ground. You see people like hoeing the ground, planting, harvesting, working, like oxen pulling carts, irrigating fields, etc., etc. And you eventually meet other people on the road. Like a trader passes you, right? Aboard, on top of a zebra, a dwarven trader with like with a clean shaven face on top of a very familiar unctuous looking zebra, and this man sort of is muttering to the zebra, there Stripes, it's okay, and is like patting Stripes, the zebra, like on the side of the neck, and it seems to be very involved in his conversation with the zebra to like really give any of you like a passing glance. And something about this dude seems familiar. Do you think any of your characters would remember this guy? But if you are interested in this, you can roll me a history check, intelligence, to see if you can remember. Because I think all of you, even if you don't want to remember or wouldn't, something about this seems familiar. You're getting a little bit of a deja vu.
Which tent did that zebra run over?
I think that was at the point where we all shared Oka's tent.
So is anyone rolling a history check, or is no one interested in that?
Manaia, single mind.
Okay.
Single brain cell.
V
Too much
rolled
to
a
worry about.
10.
V rolled a 10. Dewey? Dewey does not care. Rev doesn't know this dude. So V, your eyes, your double-colored eyes sort of like fall on this kind of fat zebra and this like similarly like fat dwarven man on top of her. And then something clicks and you just remember this dude's loaded. You don't know how you know, you don't know why you know, but this dude is loaded and your eyes fall on a bulging coin purse strapped to the back of the zebra right by its hindquarters. What do you do as it starts to pass you? Maybe 5 feet away.
God. Oh gosh. Oh my gosh, I want a dimension door. Is the coin they're right there, right?
Yeah, you're starting. It's like a slow motion, like bullet time as you look, and like the butt of the zebra is like passing by with this like massive coin purse like dangling off of its flank, like 5-10 feet away from you.
V is going to disguise self and look like a generic member of the chrysalis, and then is going to dimension door over to this, maybe onto the zebra, I don't know, and try to steal the gold and be like, blessed be the chrysalis, and then dimension door back into the wagon, which I'll have to actually use some sorcery points since I did the it's a fourth. Yeah, I'll use the sorcery points to make one more slot for the second dimension door. That's what I would like to do.
Okay, you do it. Describe to me what it looks like.
All right, so V is just like sees the gold and just like bites down hard on the knuckle. Screw it, and just like boosh into a green flash. Is like human in chrysalis robes, looking like kind of like our friend who is no longer with us, Shakor, and dimension doors finds herself like on the zebra, like blessed be the chrysalis.
Huh?
Yes.
No, wait.
And whoosh, whoosh, just in a green explosion of light, boom, dimension door back in, and like immediately drops the disguise and like tries to hide that fact that she has this bag of gold now.
Okay, all of you sort of hear as the zebra's passing, like, what? No, wait, where did they go? Where did that doughy-faced looking man go? Stripes! Stripes! They're sort of like fading out as like the merchant continues to ride Stripes like down the road. Doesn't seem to realize that you dimension doored back to the caravan he just passed. And poof, as you reappear, and I'm assuming your disguise falls off, right?
Yes.
You reappear. Yeah. Reappear at the front of the wagon. You open up the pouch, and inside of the pouch, you just see a single cabbage.
Well, V pulls it out. I guess not every score is worth its weight in gold. And she just takes a bite out the cabbage and just grumpily crunches on it.
Rev stares at you. Like,
what? You don't expect me to be good all the time, do you?
Okay,
Connie, you broke Connie.
Sorry, go ahead, Dewey. What do you do?
When Dewey pieces together what happens, he smacks the cabbage out of V's hand.
No! And it just like falls out, like flings out. I worked so hard for cabbage. I get nothing. These salts.
We're here. Ref very seriously draws the cart to a halt in front of an archway that leads into like a private garden, right? And you see like farmland attached to this house that doesn't seem to be worked right now. And a house, right? A straw-roofed house, very humble, except that there are multiple buildings spilling out from this house, and it's big enough to have a courtyard. It's not quite in the town square. It's sort of like on the outskirts of this hamlet you're heading toward. And Rev pulls it to a stop, and the first thing that all of you notice is the smell of flowers. Just thick in the air, spilling out from the courtyard, pollen and beautiful, like this delicious, fragrant floral scent. And you see in the courtyard, past the archway, which has written into some words above it. Do any of you speak or read too?
I do. V does.
Oh, right. I keep forgetting. V, you read it. You read the characters on this archway, and it just says late bloom in two. And you see like just these beds upon beds upon beds of flowers in the courtyard within. You see lotuses floating in like ponds in springs, right? It's quite a big courtyard, with like opened like in full bloom, like these beautiful white and pink and yellow lotuses with lily pads and like frogs like mounted on the lily pads, like right, like sticking out their tongue and like catching a fly, and like dragonflies like flying over like the soft gentle crests of the lotuses. You also see like trees, like magnolia, like several proud magnolia trees with like magnolias in full bloom, like white and pink and yellow, and even golden and silver magnolias. It's a fantasy world, because why not? Just like opened up, like that's the main smell you're smelling, because magnolias have a very strong scent. And you sort of see like birds chirping, like little brown dirt-colored sparrows, like in the branches of the magnolia trees, like singing, and like sniffing at the pollen and like hopping back to their nests that they've built in the crook of various branches of the magnolia trees. You also see azaleas, you see camellias, you see plum blossoms and plum trees, you see peonies, you see rose bushes, and you see chrysanthemums just everywhere. Like this place is teeming with just flowers, like so much of it, and it smells so strong and delicious and beautiful. And Rev indicates, sat on the top of that sign that says late bloom, a raven. And the raven quirks its head at Rev, lets out a caw, and then takes off. This has got to be it. Are we ready?
You'll have to do the talking. I don't know how well I can explain that birds brought us here.
I mean, I can come up with many stories of what brought us here, but I'm ready to go.
All right. Just remember, we're trying to find just a safe place to stow our mounts, and we have to go look for Oko or try to find them somehow.
We'll find them. Don't worry.
We have to. Even if it means I have to... I suppose I could try to ask the Raven Queen for help, or try to read some omens, do some augury. Anything that will point us in their direction.
Let's just focus on not getting caught ourselves first.
You don't you care about your friend, Dewey? They could be in danger. They could be in the middle of fighting for their life right now.
Okay, we can't
And
go
you only care about your own neck?
We can't go looking for them with this giant caravan, and apparently we also have a bounty on our heads.
And why do you think I brought us here? For safe harbor?
Yeah, go. That's what I'm saying.
Look, we can be everybody calm. We're fine. We've found this place. Apparently we should be here. So let's just assume that this is where we need to go to find Oka.
Fine. And Rev sort of hops off of the wagon and starts to like lead the horses, not the horses, the elk and the cows in by hand instead of just like riding in. She like hops off, but sort of like casts like a sideways look at you, Dewey. Sort of like mutters loud enough for everyone to hear. Paragon of Galtinger, my ass. The only freedom you have is freedom from other people's responsibilities.
V casts message into Rev's mind. Rev!
Rev sort of responds, I think, because you can respond when you cast message in someone's head, right? They can send a short message back. She responds in your head, sorry, A companion of yours gets on my nerves sometimes. And she continues to lead the cows in by hand and opens up her mouth and says, "Hello? Is anyone home? Hello? Manaia, what do you do?"
Manaia is looking around at the flowers and maybe unconsciously brings her hand up to adjust her hair, but really to sort of finger the flower crown turned hairband in her hair.
Yeah, the flowers sort of like ripple softly under your fingers, like their petals sort of like yielding under your touch. And you don't know why, but you get the sense that they're happy to be here. You get the sense that like this magic is really, it's something that the Princess of Leaves would love if she were talking to you right now. You get the feeling that she'd really like this place. Okay, sorry, V, were you gonna say something earlier?
I think V is just whenever like Rev is like, "Hello, anybody here?" I think V is repeating that back, but in like Chu, like just speaking that language as opposed to common.
Nice. Okay, yeah. Are you also hopping off of the wagon, or are you staying on it?
Yeah, I think V hops off and sort of like walking around, staying close to the group, but distancing a little bit to like get a look around and stuff.
Okay. You hop off, you look around, and all of you like take it as you like pass under the archway. You're like really taking in just like how well loved this garden is. Like someone clearly put a lot of like blood and sweat into maintaining this garden, and it also like sort of hums with magic all around you. Because flowers are not supposed to be in full bloom all the time, especially this late in autumn. Right? It's the final 5 weeks. So this is definitely, you can sort of like feel the weave here. It doesn't hang heavy like the presence of a shattered god, but it almost feels light and airy. Like all the pollen are like lifting the strings of the weave up and like causing them to sing with like magic and really beautiful smells. And as you continue to call, there's sort of like a sound of footsteps going over wood. And exiting the house at the end of this courtyard, stepping out onto the stone tiles, leaning against this like carved maple cane, is the oldest man you've ever seen in your life. He's bent over with age, right? And he's balding, but there's a little bit of black hair on like forming like a crown on the back of his head that sort of like turns into these like twin braids, I think, like dangling off either side of his temple, and it's braided up with like tons of little flowers. Flowers are braided all into his hair. And he even has, I think, like a tattoo on the exposed scalp of his head of like a lotus flower in full bloom. And he sort of like is leaning on this cane. His brow is super low, like with these like thick caterpillar like eyebrows. You can't see his eyes, but he's got this like a little like stubbled like white beard like all over his mouth. He's wearing these very plain clothes, but he and he's like leaning against the cane, and he stops maybe 30 feet down the path from you. Sort of cocks his head at all of you as you're calling out, and he responds in common, so all of you can understand. Sorry, the flower beds are closed for business today. Have to make dinner for the young'uns. Can I help you?
Well, we were travelers, friend, and we were stopping by, and your establishment seemed to really catch our eyes. Seems like such a beautiful, wonderful place you've got here, and what kind of place is this? It seems like there's something really quite special about this place. It seems like you've really taken really good care of this place.
Thank you. And he like approaches you, right, like hobbling on his cane as you speak, like tunk, tunk, as you hear like the wooden bottom of his cane like thunking against like the stone path. And he says, I've cultivated these flowers for as long as I've been alive, ever since I was a little boy myself, and my father taught me how to take care of the flowers, but by the Emperor's grace, I was given a slightly bigger parcel of land, a few more helping hands, and now, welcome to Late Bloom Flower Garden. I sell flowers, I buy seeds, that's what I do. I also have a boarding house in the back, but I'm afraid beds are currently full.
We're not looking for beds. I'm sorry to rush you, sir, and with all due respect, we're looking for a place for our animals in carriage to stay as we go to try to find our friend.
Your friend? And who is your friend, might I ask? Maybe I've seen them running around here.
Oh, no, we lost them in the forest.
Oh, the Silent Grove. That's a dangerous place for you to be wandering.
Well, we are adventurers. We like to, take some risky adventures in our time, and we did. We got to the other side. It was a very interesting time. But our friend disappeared when we were nearly out of the Silent Groves, which is where we're a little concerned.
I see. Well, what the hell? I'll pull up 4 more seats for dinner. It's no skin off my back. I have a couple of open spots in the stables.
No, we really must be going.
Oh, no, I insist. Well, at least take some food with you on your journey. Dewyn, I need you out here. I need your big, strong arms to lead these animals to stable. And coming out of the home where this old man also exited from, you see like a kind of like big, he has to like duck under the door frame to peek out. Like this big, you're like, oh my god, is that a giant? Oh no, that's just the half-orc. Like stepping out at this big burly half-orc boy with like the roundest face you've ever seen in your life. Like it's Orbitus, like Squeak's body, like a pumpkin. And he's got these big old cheeks. Right? And like a really soft baby face and these like really dewy eyelashes, right? Even though he's so big and muscular, it's like someone grafted a baby's head like onto like a grown like pro wrestler's body. And he like steps out and he's dressed in these like he's wearing this like really like floral dress that like goes all the way down to his feet, and he has to like pick it up so it doesn't get scuffed around in the dirt. And he goes, yeah, yes, Grandpa? We have visitors! Please show these, beautiful, pretty little cows and that moose thing, to the stables, please. Oh, I think that's an elk, Grandpa. Is it? Oh, my eyebrows have been getting in my eyes recently. Yeah, please, thank you. Everyone, this is Dewyn. Dewyn is one of the people in the boarding house. He's a late bloomer. Oh, Grandpa, I'm kind of self-conscious about that term. Well, you gotta embrace it. Nothing shameful in being a late bloomer. And like pats Dewyn. I think he can only reach Dewyn's like calf, like pats it as like Dewyn like hobbles past and starts like helping you like unhitch the wagon, your mount is like starting to lead them like back through the archway and like toward like around this parcel of land toward where stables are hidden, presumably. What do you all do while this is happening?
V is I think V is actually gonna cast one more message back to Rev and be like, are you certain this is the place where we need to be?
And Rev replies, I don't know. Hold on. And Rev says out loud, thank you for taking our mount. Like my companion said, we really have to get going. We didn't catch a name. Who should we thank? I'm Rev. This is Manaia. This is Victoria. And this is Cardew. You could just call me Grandpa Hong, though my full name is Hong Hyun. Which, of course, is Oka's last name. And on that, we're gonna cut to Oka.
Bastard in question.
The bastard in question. Why don't you roll initiative as you're suspended in the air, like your wings shot out of your back, this like line, like a fishing line, or like the string of a kite of pure black light connecting you to this mysterious masked rider at the front of your palanquin procession. What did you get?
Only a 10 for initiative.
Okay, they are going to go first. So they are going to... I'm assuming you're going to try to use your... You said you were trying to, like, dive bomb them, right?
I'm coming at them with ill intent very fast.
Okay, I think they can see that and sense it. I think it's pretty obvious. So they are, with one hand holding onto the string, they're gonna fling out their other hand and just sort of out of nowhere, another knife. Sort of just like slices through the air, and this one is golden, and it's crackling with like electricity or some sort of like magical lightning energy, and it is going to smack you right under the arm.
Can I try to use, since my calling edge is drawn, can I try to use my parry on that?
Yeah, that's a reaction, right? So that can reduce the damage taken. Okay,
Yes.
go for it.
That is 1, 6, ooh, 5 plus 4 for reduced damage taken, so 9.
Okay, you're gonna reduce the incoming damage by 9, so you are only going to take, let me do some quick math here. You're only gonna take 11 points of piercing damage, and another 4 points of lightning damage, and I need you to make a con save.
Okay, that was pretty good. 17, 18, 19, 20. Unnatural 20.
Okay, you save, but you can feel your body like electricity just sort of like bounces from your wing to your head, and like static just like erupts off your body. As this person would seem to be trying to incapacitate you, right? Like instead of kill you. So they were trying to like stun you, or at the very least like paralyze you somehow. But you were able to fight through it. So now it is your turn.
Yeah, I think as the lightning starts bouncing off of Oka's body, it turns red wherever it hits their skin. Because Oka is, at this point, is kind of, it makes sense to me because Oka's used to lightning rolling up and down their body at this point. So I think it like sparks off in red. And I have Culling Edge drawn, so if I get a stab in or two, that's great. But what I'm mostly trying to do is knock this person off their pretty fucking horse.
Okay, so make an attack roll. Make an attack roll. Let's see what happens.
14 plus 7, if I'm using my weapon. I suppose I am.
21, that does hit their armor class. So roll damage.
Okay, so many things. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I can't do math. I'm so sorry. 9, 19 plus 19 points of piercing damage and 3 points of fire damage. Yes.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. They take it. What does it look like?
Oka, they're still kind of like electric, but now they're the worst kite you've seen, and they're also electrified. And as they come forward, this like warmth glowing out of their tattoo like solidifies and turns into their own knife, just kind of that apparates like from the top of their hand, and they just punt this person right in the chest, kind of like how they threw Kane off the side of the dais, but we're going off the side of the horse now.
Okay, because you succeeded so well, I will allow you to use your second quote-unquote attack to try to also shove them off the horse. So why don't you roll that second attack as well?
I'll use I still have 1 inspiration, right?
You do not, you're out, but we have collective inspiration is on. Do you want to turn it off?
I would like to use the point of inspiration if y'all would be so kind.
All right, Oka, we're turning off collective inspiration.
That's a 17 on the floor, natural, plus 7.
Okay, a natural 17 to hit?
Yes, to hit.
That would not hit, but you can
No,
still...
plus 7. 17 plus 7.
Oh.
24, whatever that is.
Okay, yes, that does hit then. Roll damage.
Okay. Damage again, or just to knock us both off the horse?
You get to roll damage with it. I'm not going to make you take your attack away. So you roll damage, and they're going to have to make a strength save.
Okay, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. 20 points of piercing and another 3 points of fire.
Okay, sounds good. So describe to me what it looks like as you attack this person and try to shove them off with your magical culling edge.
Yeah, like I said, they like punt one in the chest, and the blood just goes right in. I can also use my, whenever I deal damage, I guess I used my reaction already this turn, eh?
You did.
So I cannot do that. But Oka just like punts once, immediately takes it out and punts again. They're going for blood here a little bit. They're kind of scared, so they're lashing out. And they just pummel this person off the horse, and they're both like flying through the air.
Okay, I think you just do it. I won't even make them roll a save or to roll a grapple check or anything. You fly into them like magic exploding through the grove as the two of you collide like neuron stars. And you punt them off of the horse. And as you do, the side of one of your like doubled peopled eyes like catches something in your peripheral vision, and you see Dream Hunter strapped to the side of their horse. Like sort of hog-tied almost, like it's strapped down. Like they've taken Dream Hunter with them, but like left presumably the rest of it. Because you didn't see your things in the carriage, right? And you don't see the rest of your things on this horse, but they did take Dream Hunter. And then the two of you, bam, you hit the ground and you start tumbling, right? Like your wings are sort of like, collecting dust. Like you roll over the hard shells of like seeds from these ginkgo trees, which are like basically like the size of like ginormous marbles and just as hard. So that hurts as well, surprisingly. And like over sticks and twigs, and these leaves are crunching everywhere. Dust is flying up. Like your two like dogs like attacking each other in the dirt. And what are you saying? What are you doing as you tackle them off?
Fucking let go of me! And every punch is like a duh, duh, duh. And it's the undertone is also fear. Like they're lashing out a lot because they're afraid. And there's like blood flying around now.
Are you trying to punch their mask off?
Oh, hell yeah.
Okay, then I'm gonna ask you to make a sleight of hand contest. Yeah, go retrieve your d20 from hell.
Ooh, okay, a grapple check, that's plus strength.
You can use athletics or acrobatics. That's fine.
14.
They rolled an 8. So describe to me what it looks like as you just you knock that mask off.
It's real quick. Oka's like animal instinct, like punch to the chest, and then their other hand comes off. And like I think just like they're rolling on the ground, but they're like tearing at this, like trying to get the thing off, and they just grab at the mask and yank with their opposite hand.
Okay, you yank this golden, beautifully painted mask off, and as it flies off, you see a face. And this face is soft, almost gentle, except that it's wrought through with this vicious scar that runs from their chin, the bottom of their chin, like all the way up, like the right side of their face. It removes a chunk of their nose, and it goes up and stops sort of at their right temple, into the hairline. And their eyes, both of their eyes are red. And their eyes like widen as you knock the mask off. And they just let out a no. And they pull out their hand and they like grab onto the mask, and they're like very like desperately trying to put it back on.
I think at this point we've probably stopped rolling, and Oka is like maybe like holding them down with the blade on one side. And has their hand on the mask, so maybe they're just kind of like fighting with it there. And Oka maybe has them pinned if they won their grapple check. And like, who the fuck are you?
Okay, this is not how I expected this to go.
I love to cause problems on purpose.
They just sort of like look up at you like with these like wide red eyes, these like furrowed brow. They're like desperately trying to put the mask back on, but you're preventing them, and they just like look away from you, almost like they're embarrassed. They look pretty humiliated right now. Like they do not want this mask off, like at all.
What do you think I was some pretty little prince? No. We're the same. Look at me. You want to try to fuck with me? Don't.
Roll intimidation. with advantage.
$18. I have a +4 to charisma rolls now, motherfuckers.
Okay. And they say, the queen sent me. The queen.
Oka moves off real quick, I think, as though they got like burned by whatever they said. They're used to lots of people coming after them. That's surprising. They like get off real quick. The disengage action. They like back up, keeping themselves between the palanquin and the horse and this person. Still very much armed, both of their wings spread. The queen. What?
You let them have their mask back?
No, I take it. I tried it. Well, I drop everything, actually. Okay, we'll let them have their mask back.
They snatch it off the ground and they scramble to their feet and they like quickly fit the mask back on. And they look back up, and when they speak, it's like a filtered voice. Like magic is like distorting their voice to make it a lot deeper and a lot more menacing with the mask on. They sound like a totally different person. And as they put it on, it's almost like they become a different person too. Like their shoulders relax, they're no longer hunched, and they look up at you like through like the painted eye holes of the mask, and they say, "You want back into the slumbering palace, don't you, Oka Hye?"
I don't need your fucking help to do it.
It's not a request. I've been sent by Queen Mo-Guilian to bring you into the slumbering palace. You and the sword you stole.
Queen Moi wants me back in the palace. And I think Oka gets a little hysterical. Like, they start laughing for a second, and then they, like, start really laughing, and it gets, like, a little hysterical where they, like, put both their hands on their knees, and then they just abruptly stop. They look back up. They jerk their head. Queen Moi does not want me back in the palace. She wants Dream Hunter back where it belongs because it belongs to her son.
My instructions were clear. Bring you and Dream Hunter back to the palace.
Me and Dream Hunter are coming back to the palace at our own fucking pace.
No. No, you will not be.
Yeah? Are you gonna take me back? You and what fucking army?
That army. Attack. And the 4 people who were carrying...
I really walked into that one.
the palanquin, gently lower it to the ground. And then they bull rush you, like as like a coordinated attack. And you just feel like 4 different sets of these like massive hands grab you, and you realize what they are. Because everyone in the palace knows that Queen Mo-Guilian is a flesh seer. She makes flesh constructs. She's really good at it. So these flesh constructs grab you. You can try to make like the DC is gonna be really high because there's 4 of them. You can try to resist, but it's probably not gonna succeed. Maybe even with a crit, it might not succeed.
Okay, I'll just roll straight up just to see, for fun.
Okay.
What'd you get? Natural 1, do it?
Success!
Sometimes the dice just fucking tell the story.
Yeah, so Oka, tell me what it looks like as they take you out.
Oka was feeling very badass and very much like, ha, fuck you, assassin! And then I just think they get like the same soft spot where this person must have knocked them before. It's just like one beautiful flesh created hand just goes, and they're like their entire knee, both of their knees give out and they just go ga 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 ga. And then they're just like, then there's no hope, and their wings kind of like shudder and fold back into their back, and then there's very little hope.
Okay. Okay. I think with a nat one you get knocked out. If you're gonna take the unconscious condition, I'll give you a carrot. I'll let you get inspiration.
Yeah, sure, boss. I'll take that.
All right, munch on that carrot. Mark inspiration. Oka, everything goes black. You fall to the ground, and I think the last thing you see is like a pair of like leather boots approaching you as like your eyes are blinking in and out, and then it kicks you, right? And you're completely out. And on Oka getting knocked unconscious.
For the second time today.
You don't know how long it's been since the first time you were knocked unconscious. I'm gonna say that very ominously. We are gonna cut back to the rest of the party. Dewey, Manaia, and V, and of course, Rev. The four of you look down, because yes, even you, Dewey, look down at this like tiny old man who's like looking up at you and has just introduced himself as Grandpa Hyun Hong. And as you look at him, I mean, he's a drow. Oka's kind of drow-like. He's got like ears that are kind of shaped like Oka's ears. Like his skin tone is almost like swath for swath, like Oka's skin tone. You can't tell if he has double pupils either because his eyebrows are so overgrown, right? But he could. I mean, he's also a drow. He could be. I mean, what did the three of you do?
I think V is gonna be like, Ken, doesn't the royal family have
Hey,
that?
hey! Be careful with that name around here.
It's okay. We know we're kind of the black sheep of the royal line. I am technically, I suppose, nobility, though I was not born into it. My daughter married into it. Everyone in this town knows. I choose not to live in Dokao proper. I don't like all the fancy airs they put on, and little feasts they throw themselves. No, I prefer simple, humble living out here. But yes, I am the father of Arden Hyun, the 8th wife of the Emperor. Oh, sorry, I'm gonna recall that. I am the father of Arden Hyun, the 4th wife of the Emperor.
Well, isn't that convenient? V looks over to Rev and the rest of the party members. She's saying that like sort of under her breath.
Rev just sort of like looks like so smug. She turns and looks at like Dewey with just this shit-eating grin on her face and says, "The Raven Queen gives."
The Raven Queen may taketh away. Grandpa Hyun, with all due respect, I'll be frank. We need to make sure we can trust you.
I thought you
because
were
might-
Manaia. Oh, you said you'll be frank.
Oh, that was a good one. That was a good one.
Okay. I'm sorry. What? I stopped listening after I heard the pun.
Of course. Sorry. My apologies, sir. Can we trust you? We think you might be able to help us.
Oh? Well, I don't know about trust. What kind of a help are we talking about? You want to
Well,
play
looks
some
around.
mahjong? You can't trust me when we're playing mahjong. I can't trust me to look after your liquor either.
Manaia looks around. Is there anyone in the direct vicinity?
Aside from Dwin, who at this point I think is like is gone. Like has like led like both of the cows and the elk out, and your carriage too. So it's just you with your, I'm assuming like with your equipment and like your weapons and stuff like on your bodies. You're like standing in the middle of this garden. No, it just seems to be the four of you and Grandpa Hyun. Though you can hear voices from deeper within and the smell of like cooking rice. Like it seems like they're getting ready for lunch, I think, because it's about midday.
Our friend who we lost in the forest is your grandchild, I believe.
What?
I think they used to be called Makoya.
Oh, at that, Grandpa Hyun like looks up, and like his eyebrows raise, like to such an extent that you see his eyes. And he's got these like normal looking like black eyes, I think. But their shape is similar to Oka's. Like he looks up with this like look of like astonishment and shock, and just emotion has like frozen his expression into place.
Manaia takes a knee. Forgive me, sir. I did not mean to disturb you this much out of the blue.
Makoya is with you?
So you know then. Oka is their name. We lost them in the Sacred Grove. They're wanted here, and we need to go find them.
How? But I don't. And he sort of like staggers backward, like this news is hitting him really hard. And he reaches for like a nearby seat, like a stool, and he like sits down on it, and he like leans against his cane. Makoya is still alive.
With all due respect, sir, Makoya Hyun is dead. Oka Hye is our companion.
So they've gone by their childhood nickname forever, haven't they? Oka. Oka's alive. I knew it. I knew this day would come. I knew they'd come back. I knew it. I knew they wouldn't leave their sisters, their mother, their old man behind. And Grandpa Hyun like starts pushing himself back up to his feet.
1,000 apologies, sir, but they aren't here. We think they were taken.
Who?
Can you help
Bounty
us?
hunters?
More than likely.
Of course I'll help you. If what you're saying is true, then that means... Oh, my dear, sweet Oka. Oka's back. Oka's... Please, you must... Come. I have some people who may be able to help. Come, quick, hurry. And he starts turning and hobbling back toward the house.
Manaia glances at Rev. As like a...
Mm-hmm.
with a questioning look. Yeah.
Rev gives a nod.
Manaia leads the charge.
Okay. V, Dewey?
V looks back at Dewey, being like,
Dewey does the purposeful not eye contact and like follows V.
Okay. The four of you, including Rev, go into this house. The Grandpa Hyun like steps over this like little I don't know what to call them, but it's like this little raised wooden platform that sort of like separates the outside from the inside in a lot of like Chinese and like various East Asian architecture. And he steps over it into like this main area of the house where you sort of see like there's a shrine, first of all, like a very well kept shrine. And there's like a photo, like a drawing of several people on the shrine. The first one is of Oka. It's like a shrine to the dead, right? With like oranges and like flowers and like coins and gems and jewels and like this beautiful wreath all around it. The first drawing is that of Oka, but with really long hair. Actually, C, would you like to describe what your party sees?
Oh, yeah. This young person, probably this drawing was made when they were 15, so even younger than in the dream memory that y'all had in the Dream Shield. The same, slate gray skin, all of their freckles, I think, on their face are more pronounced because their face isn't lined. They don't have those like thick eye bags or the scars that twist across their face. So it's really just like their freckles and their eyes in the drawing still drawn with the double pupils and this long black hair that just it like goes beyond the reaches of the photo, and it's like pulled back in this like beautiful braid. And they still have all their piercings, maybe just like one bridge instead of two, and like two little things, and they look kind of like proud. And they have like a training sword on their back, and they're like smiling for the drawing. It's weird to see them smile with like no lines on their face and not this like bisection of their lip. Like they're just like full and smiling.
Yeah. And the second photo next to Oka, or rather Makoya, is of a like drow woman who could be Oka's mom, but maybe not. You get the sense that maybe it's the Grandpa Hyun's wife. Because she's like sort of like sitting there for a portrait and smiling kind of serenely. She's in these like very like humble robes, right? She's like holding a flower in the picture and is smiling. And it's kind of like done in like an old-fashioned way. So a little bit like maybe like a generation ago, right? Instead of like more modern right now. And Grandpa Hyun like hustles past this shrine. There's like various other shrines now to like Mengshen Zhidi specifically, like with like scrolls and little statuettes of like this like old looking, like very wise looking like male elf is usually how like Mengshen Zhidi is portrayed, I think. Though there are various interpretations, right? This is just the dominant version. He like hustles past this like foyer area and leads you into a dining hall where several people are bustling about and like setting food out sort of like family style onto like this big circular table, and like somewhere deeper within you can like hear and smell the kitchen going that has like several other people working it, and you see Dewey has apparently come in from like a back entrance and has come in and is sat down. There's Dewey. There's also this like very shy looking human girl who can't be older than maybe 15 or 16, and she sort of sat there with this like black hair just completely covering her face. Like she has not cut her bangs like a day of her life, but like the hair is like short, so like a reverse mullet. Like the hair is like really short on the back, but like it just hangs in the front. It's like getting in her rice bowl, and Dewey is just going, Mao, do you want to try to maybe, won't you eat your... I'm okay. I'm fine. Don't look at me. Says Mao, and Dewey says, oh, okay. And Mao like eats behind her curtain of hair. And there's like another person, a kind of lazy looking, like dirt brown tiefling, who's sort of like leaned back and has their feet up like on the table and is sort of eating kind of rudely like in their lap. And as soon as Grandpa Hyun comes in, they don't notice Grandpa Hyun come in. They just have like a single horn like sticking out of like their forehead, like a unicorn horn almost, but it's sort of like almost like a rhino horn actually. It like curves up and it's kind of thick and broad, which gives them the impression, if you look at them head on, that their eyes are perpetually cross-eyed. But when Grandpa Hyun comes in, Grandpa Hyun picks up his staff and whacks this tiefling across the shins, and the tiefling goes, ow, hey, no feet up on the table, hurry, hustle, Azen, make some room for our guests. And the tiefling sort of mutters to themselves, but they get up and start like making space for the rest of you to like sit around this dinner table, this lunch table. Grandpa Hyun says, the people who can help find Oka are right here. And he looks very proudly at pumpkin-faced Dewey, Mao with a curtain of hair in front of her face, and rhino horn person. In a word, they're not paragons. I'm not even gonna like.
Damn it.
They are not. There's nothing.
Damn.
Yeah, they look like not just average, but like you would pick them last for like fantasy kickball. You know what I mean? Sorry, go ahead, Manaia.
Us. Got it.
Yeah, I was just about to say. Right.
Manaia looks from this group of unique individuals over to her companions. Tall, muscular, gray skin with raven feathers all over. Pale elf with literal dragon scales crawling across her face. A giant fucking bird in armor and glasses. Nah, it's pretty normal, but you know. um, and she says, well, she specifically like looks at Rev but addresses the whole party and he's like, birds of a feather, I suppose.
But how did the rest of you respond? As I think everyone, Mao Mao, Dewin, and Azen all sort of like look at the four of you and can like you can see in their eyes, or in the case of Mao Mao, her bangs, that like they're just looking at you like wow, like they're all sort of starry eyed, like looking up at the four of you.
Well, V says, I've done more with less.
What about you,
If
Dewey?
by less you mean us, you just have to say, you don't have to allude to things.
I think this is gonna triple our strength just having these fine individuals helping us.
And I can't help but glance at Rev.
Grandpa Hyun, surely these three individuals are blessed in some way, right? They must have unique talents. That's why you think that they can help us find Oka? Wait, Oka? Says Dwyn. You mean the childhood nickname of Prince Makoya Hyun, resident bad boy of the Slumbering Palace? And you see Dwyn, this pumpkin-headed half-orc, like pulls out sort of like a scroll that has sort of almost like a pinup drawing of Oka as like Makoya. You know what I mean? Like in like calligraphy brush, like in this beautiful like watercolor brush, but it's like super like kind of distasteful. Grandpa Hyun like smacks Dwyn across the shins as well. And like Dwyn like scrolls it back up, and Mamo says, "Oh no, I thought this would come. I had nightmares about this day coming." And Azen, sort of like with like their hands behind their back, hands behind their head, says, you got dreams, you got nightmares every night, Momo. A night where you have a nightmare is normal, is a night that ends in day, eh? They sort of trail off when no one else laughs. And Grandpa Hyun says, enough! Yes, to answer your question, Rev, yes. These three late bloomers, as I like to call them, each bring unique gifts that can help us track down Oka. I told the three of you, when I started this boarding school, this boarding house, and I started accepting other people into my life, it was to make right by Makoya. Sorry, by Oka, as they now go by. Because poor Oka was always watching out for their younger sisters, looking after my daughter, their mother. And what happened to them wasn't right. It wasn't their fault, but they paid the ultimate price. Exile, that they might never see their family again. Some nights I wonder if it wouldn't have been easier for their sisters and their mother if they'd just been executed like they were supposed to be. At least then, poor little Yaya wouldn't have any hope left. And she'd learn to move on, like the rest of them. Like Toya did. But Oka is alive. I knew they'd be. Oka's alive, and we have to find them, and we have to bring them back home. Working together, I know we can.
So, what exactly are these talents that the three of you bring to the table in recovering kidnapped people?
Well, says Dewin. I was a royal guard in Dokao, so I know the capital really well, and I have contacts, and you mean you were almost a royal guard, but you never made it past training? Well, hey, it was really scary, okay? And final training is a bunch of one-on-one, duels, and I'm not good when I'm put in the spotlight. So so you just packed it up and ran away because you couldn't face your responsibilities. Oh, don't you know? Azen here. I was on track to become #1 finisher of the Imperial exams last year. Yeah, but you didn't. You dropped out the night before, didn't you? What? Hey, it wasn't my fault. I might have gotten kind of wasted on pumpkin wine and they couldn't handle the pressure. Just like Dwyn. They dropped out, and now their parents, who are a bunch of scholars in the slumbering palace, kicked them out. They're mooching off their parents too much. And so, now they're here. Hey! You want to talk, Nightmare Girl? Hi. I'm Mao Mao. I was training to be a dream prophet. Dream interpreter. And she's really good at it, too. Yeah, but Meng Shenzhidi must hate me because I only ever have nightmares. Yep, that's us.
Great. This is just exactly the party I thought I needed in order to get snuck into. Oh gosh.
V.
Thanks for
V. Don't be mean.
Not being mean. This is a wonderful group. I'm really excited. Oh, I'm so prepared for this. We got this.
V. I know I'm not the best at reading faces and tones, but I know you're being cynical. Allow me. Manaia sits down at the table, probably at a chair a little bit too small for her, and she puts her arms up, very prominently showing her muscles, as well as her armbands, as well as maybe her Manaia pendant glittering in her ear, and she says, "My name is Manaia. Do you want to know a fun fact about me?"
You're really big, says Dwyn.
Sometimes that isn't quite as fun as you think. I grew up in an orphanage. My parents went missing when I was very young, and I didn't have a place to go. My friends at the orphanage, those who I befriended and those who I ended up taking care of, well, let's just say I wasn't alone. Manaia looks down at herself. Some of the strongest people I know come from the humblest beginnings. You each have very, very special talents. And I think, with your help especially, we'll find Oka in no time. Some of the best sailors I know, as much as I may dislike their personalities, were there in that orphanage with me. So, Mao Mao, was it?
Yes?
A lot of bad things are happening in this world. It's understandable that you're having a lot of nightmares. And it's okay to be scared. But let's start working on trying to be calm. Breathe a little bit. See what those dreams are really telling you. And Dwyn?
Yeah, that's me.
I'd bet 3 gold pieces you could beat me in an arm wrestling match.
Oh, I don't know. You look pretty strong.
Hmm. We'll see about that later.
I bet
And
she'd just let you win.
your name was?
Azen, one and only.
I see. One and only. Well, friends, we're in familiar company. We're all one and onlys, you might say. How soon can we leave? Manaia turns to Grandpa Hyun.
We can leave as soon as we're all well nourished. Can't go oka hunting on an empty stomach. We're just setting ourselves up for failure. V, Dewey, do the two of you chime in to Manaia's pep talk? Or like do or say anything while this is occurring?
I think V is I think V is looking at the situation and just listening, and perhaps a little bit thinking about the fact, V came from not really having much family in a lot of the growing up she had to do in life. And when I don't think V's gonna say anything, I just think V's just gonna look at these three with new sets of eyes and being like, you know what? Perhaps we're not so bad after all. I think the pep talk actually from Manaia actually worked more on V than anything else.
Oh, you thought I was just talking to them?
V needed to hear it too.
Y'all needed to hear it.
What about you, Dewey?
Dewey, I think, sort of wordlessly slides into the seat next to, I think, Dewin.
Okay. And with that, Grandpa Hyun nods and I think like passes the rest of you some more bowls of rice and starts like gesturing for you all to eat. And I think you do eat like hurriedly, but Grandpa Hyun would scold you if you're like eating it too quickly. Like, hey, don't chew like a wolf, swallow like a tiger. It's bad for digestion. Here, have some more tea. It's like pushing tea at all of you like all the time. As you like finish up lunch and you prepare to find Oka after. With your new companions, Mao Mao, Dwyn, and Azen. So we're gonna like sort of like pull out of this vision, like maybe through the top of the roof of the dining hall around this like round table with like all of these folks like sitting around it and eating and sharing a meal and sharing good drink, while surrounded by these beautiful flowers. We're gonna pull out of this house, and then we are going to pull in to a dream. Oka's dream. Oka, you've been knocked unconscious, which means your subconscious is working overtime to show you something. Why don't you tell me where this dream opens?
I think in the Silent Grove. Just kind of as it always had. Or as it does sometimes. But Oka hasn't dreamed a real dream. Oh, no, I'm sorry. It would open on that same fucking battlefield, as always. Oka hasn't dreamed in 7 years, 7.5 years now. So the only thing I think their subconscious goes to when they go unconscious now is that battlefield full of blood and red eyes crying.
Yes, the battlefield is washed with blood and crimson light, not dissimilar to when you were fighting Bloodthirst now, right? And like these like dozens and thousands and trillions of eyes just like spanning the sky from horizon to horizon with wings also opening across the atmosphere surrounding all of Andake with these like pitch black and like tar like red feathers. The eyes as they blink down at this like mass of just bodies and chaos and violence like strewn across Andake's land. As they blink down, these big globules of black and red tears fall down from the sky. They slam into the ground with cacophonous force, causing the ground to tremble and break and crack. And from where these black and red tears fall into the ground, these monsters emerge out of this stuff of nothingness, and begin to attack the protectors of Andake. And that's where we find you, Oka, as yourself, in the middle of this battlefield, wielding Dream Hunter in one hand, the rune-etched blade of this longsword glimmering. But as always, Dream Hunter is fighting back against you. Just like when, from the very first night that you picked them up in the first place, they are resisting you. They have not yet recognized you as a worthy wielder. And I think like your hands vibrating as Dream Hunter, similar to like Dewey's sword son, is like trying to fly out of your grasp, right? It's vibrating very hard. And I think it does. It whirls out of your grasp, and you know what's gonna come next. It's inevitable. You can't avoid it. You just helplessly have to take it. This is the course of destiny, and there's nothing you can do to alter it, is there? And as Dream Hunter sort of pile drives down, like the tip of it, like going down toward your solar plexus, toward where you were speared through by that Celian 7 years ago in the Silent Grove, and your life was irrevocably changed forever, it stops an inch away from your chest. And the entire blade vibrates from the force of it stopping. And then it shoots across the battlefield and lands in the hand of your mother-father. And we're gonna end the session there. We're gonna end the session there.
Exactly how I always want to end an episode, with C screaming into the microphone.
That's the best way.
It's the best way to end an episode. Thank you everyone so much for watching Transplanar RPG Arc 4 Episode 1, the official start to Arc 4, which is gonna be the official midpoint of our entire series. Once we finish this arc, we are 50% of the way through with Transplanar RPG's main campaign. Isn't that
Sing
wild?
with me, y'all. We're halfway there.
Okay. Lizard on a chair.
Oh.
Oh, is that the actual lyrics? Whoops.
I've been Connie Chong. I've been your GM and executive producer, pronounced they, he, and she. You can find me on Twitter, Patreon, and itch at by Connie Chong. That's BYCONNIECHANG. When I'm not running Transplanar Saturdays at 3 p.m. U.S. Central Time, you can find me working on Godkiller RPG, which is coming out before 2022. I am putting it out there in the universe. Don't look at me like that, see?
Press X to doubt.
It is coming out by the end of this year, which is a one-player, one-GM PBTA holy punk game, where the player is the God Killer and the GM is God. You try to kill your fucking GM, you try to kill God, and it's set in a world of irradiated divinity. It's like a post-apocalyptic world where gods walk the earth and are immortal, except other gods can kill gods, mortals can't kill gods, gods eat each other. It's wild, it's ridiculous, it's grim dark. God Killer, kill your GM, kill God. Stay tuned for that. You can follow that project on God Killer RPG on Twitter. I will also be releasing a podcast to go alongside it of actual play runs of God Killer RPG. So that's interesting. Follow that Twitter account. With that, I'm going to pass things along to Lyra.
Hello, everyone, and soon goodbye, everyone. My name is Lyra. I use they, she pronouns. I am the artistic director of Shout, Minnesota's trans and gender diverse voices and all trans me-led choral group based in the Twin Cities. Check us out on Facebook and Instagram at Shout Minnesota. Go ahead, Erica.
Hi, everybody. I'm Erica, and I played Vinox, so both of us, she, her pronouns. And you can find me here on Twitch at Erica New Girl. You can find me on other platforms as well, Erica New Girl, everywhere I go. And just prepare yourselves, mother. So come check me play Echo Tides of Time on Monday. Max.
Hey, I'm Max. My pronouns are they, them. I play Dewey Quirk, bird who pissed off the other bird who's keeping him alive. you can find me on Twitter at Starchmonger, where I tweet maybe once a month, and also Instagram and Etsy at Stitchmonger, where I sew stuff. I'm on break until the end of or beginning of next week, but if you use the code Transplanar, you can get 15% of it. Anything. I will pass it to C.
Hi, all. My name's C. I use they, them pronouns. I'm a dancer, digital artist, tabletop streamer, lots of stuff. Thanks so much for being here. I will not be here next week because I am going to be part of a theater show. So that will be going on. I will be gone. So enjoy. Connie and I will record stuff, but I am very excited to be posting lots and lots and lots of trans and queer art on my Twitter, Tumblr, and Instagram at PieSharpArt. You can also follow me on Twitch. I do occasionally stream my art at pie_sharp. And you can catch me in October on Friends Who Roll Dice's channel playing in their brand new Invisible Sun game. That is going to be so much fun. I am so excited for that. I am also co-producing The Hounds of Mercy versus Andake, which is our next stream. So catch us again on Tuesday, like in 4 days. I can't do math. 3 days, whatever that is, on Tuesday at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, right here. We are going to be so cool. I am so excited for that. And with that, let's raid Critical Bard. I think they're doing Dungeons and Do-Rags.
Yes, they are. Critical Bard, we're going to give him a raid. Follow them on Twitch if you aren't already Critical Bard. They're great. They're a streamer. They do TTRPG, D&D stuff. They're fantastic. We've had them as a guest on this show before, and they are just truly awesome. So use the new raid message in chat with Owoka, because Manaia Love is now follower-only emote, which means we can't use it in other channels, so we might have to reconfigure that and see what's up. But we're going to give Critical Bard a raid. We love you all so much. See you on Tuesday for the very first episode of Hounds of Mercy. Peace.
Tuesday, and
I'm gonna cut out.